Okay, Steve, let's go.
Well, greetings, friends, all of you, and thank you, everybody. Thank you, Susanna, so much for arranging this. Thank you for the beautiful work you do. I've heard a little of the work you do in technology. I remember so well the meeting we had. Now I see you, I do really remember. And thank you, Neela, so much. It's so good to be in touch again, and all of you for inviting me to share a few thoughts. It's my it's my honor um, to have some time with you. It's heartening to think that you'll be working together as one circle of students of the Bailey teachings in Latin America, preparing yourselves together to provide a field of group mind that will be of use to humanity, to the plan, and to hierarchy during this especially auspicious Wesak Festival this year in 2022. Now, I work and live in the New York Planetary Center as part of the Lucis Trust group of co-workers. And I always enjoy the opportunity to link with co-workers throughout the Americas and Latin America, and to take the opportunity to affirm that we work together as one vast region that embraces the entire peoples and all of the nations of the Americas, from the northern islands of Canada to the southern points of Argentina and Chile. I always think, I look at it like before I did this talk, I looked at the map and I saw these little islands that I didn't really realize how close to Antarctica they are, how close to the Arctic, to the northern Arctic they are. And then way down in Chile and Argentina, these lower islands again that then are close to Antarctica in the south. And it's amazing to think of the vast network of communities of human beings who live in this region. And this is our region. This is our place of work. It's our place of to live. It's where we learn to tread the path. And in this region of ours, there are over 1 billion human beings, over 1 billion souls in incarnation. There are 35 different countries, speaking different languages, embracing tiny island states in the Caribbean, some with as little as 58,000 people in the entire population of the country, up to some of the most populous countries in the world, the United States, Brazil, Mexico. And I was interested to see this time when I was looking that in this region of the Americas, there are 5 of the 8 megacities in the world. There are 8 megacities, which means cities with over 10 million residents, bigger than many, many countries. And there are 8 of these huge, massive cities in the world, and 5 of them are in our region in the Americas. So you might well ask, why all these facts and figures? Why all these statistics? When we're gathered for the most sacred festival of the year and for meditation work. Well, I share these because they, for me, are a helpful reminder of what it means for us to be called to serve humanity and the plan and all of the work that human beings are doing towards building right relations. These figures to me affirm the fact of our relationship with the human community. We're in incarnation for a reason, and it's in humanity that this unbelievable transformation of consciousness is occurring and strongly needs our support. The work we do is with and for the evolving consciousness of people, but also of peoples and of countries, of the small island states, of the vast nation states, each one of these nations with its own soul and personality, of the mega cities with all their chaotic, concentrated interrelationships. What a thing to think of, this human community. Right now, the lives of the people in incarnation in these states and cities of our region are being deeply stirred. Consciousness is stirred, and so too is the cellular substance of the lives of billions of people being stirred, just as it is being stirred in ourselves and in our own equipment. The human experience of these times is at least in part an experience of a level of intensity that is really very new. For so many are suffering from this intensity on the planes of emotions and desires and opinions and prejudices. But there's an intensity too on the mental plane, as so many desperately seek to recognize exactly what is true and real in an age that's soaked with information, but that lacks commonly accepted ethics or norms through which that information can be processed, and through which we human beings can find shared meaning, purpose, and information we can rely on. And of course, for us, it's important to affirm that this is a time of spiritual intensity, because the issues and questions of our age reach into some of the most profound questions facing the human being on the spiritual path. Questions that are real and touch us in the real core of our being. Who am I? How can my soul find a point of anchorage where it can breathe through a purposeful and full and joyful human life? It's the spiritual intensity of life today that is leading many to consciously align with soul and spirit, and to lift that intensity into a discipleship type identity, where it can become a point of poised and focused purpose, tension, real spiritual tension, still and quiet, and giving this courage and the strength to withstand the stirring and the upset that we find in many of our relationships and in the world we live in. For we are, after all, living in a time when, as the Tibetans expressed it, a human crisis and a spiritual crisis are coinciding. And such times bring with them opportunities for decision in human affairs. This is clearly the situation today throughout the world, and decision is not easy. It can't be sort of created abstractly. We need decision, so let's do it. Decision comes out of experience and a way of understanding experience. But we are moving into a time when the opportunity for decision is increasing, and this is deeply affecting nations and peoples. It's deeply affecting and stirring global and hemispheric bodies and international affairs, towns and cities, and megacities. And at such times, all who seek to tread the discipleship path are, in a way, a light shines on their lives, and there is an intensity that can become an intensity of purpose, of solidity, and of radiant beauty. When standing before the greater lights of the ashram, the spiritual hierarchy, Shambhala, and all those beings that are the sacred planets and constellations of the starry worlds, and we stand together as we do, I think you'll be watching this on the day of the Wesak full moon, as we will on the Wesak full moon before the Buddha, it's easy to become so lost in the vibrating electrical radiations of these higher realities that we can forget that it is our place to stand as human beings with humanity. And it's only to the extent that we can hold these 2 points of identity, the human and the hierarchical, the personality and the soul, matter and spirit. It's only to the extent that we learn to hold these together in a synthesis that it truly becomes possible for us to serve as a group through radiation. In esoteric work, our usefulness depends on our effort to think clearly and dispassionately, drawing on all the levels of mind. What we can think of as the full mind. I love that phrase that Buddhists use nowadays so widely, mindfulness. Mindfulness really reflects a recognition, particularly in the West, a new recognition of the incredible richness and fullness of mind. The analytical, rational intelligence of the concrete mind. The loving mind of the soul that reaches into the intuitive mind of Buddhi. And the higher abstract mind, where ideas are encountered in their beauty, their essence, and their pure radiatory being. I love that idea, that thought of ideas as living beings. Our usefulness to the plan and to the Christ and the Buddha depends upon our intent to exercise all these layers of the muscle of the full human mind, and to do so, this is the key thing, and I loved hearing the work you're doing. This is the key thing, to take time to learn to do this as a group. Everyone thinking themselves authentically, but together, a clarification of thought occurring in the group mind. Our usefulness at this time of spiritual need also depends on our ability to move from intention to dynamic will. For only then do we begin as a group to bridge between spirit, soul, and matter. And only as we do this do we really actively contribute to humanity's entry into an entirely new perception of wholeness. We know that this entry into wholeness will be characterized by all the creativity, intelligence, and intensity of the modern mind. And we know this entry into the human awareness of wholeness will be accompanied, and this is the magnificent thing, do we really think about it, that this new era we're moving into, this new era of thought, will be accompanied by a reappearance of the one who will be the one who will usher in the new civilization and culture. This one we know as the Christ, who will again become a human being. And the radiation of that level of quantum physics, the electrification at the cellular level of the human, but more significantly at these levels, these 3 levels of mind, that will be a result of an appearance, a human appearance, again, of the Christ. Sometimes we forget that this passage into a new era can best be observed by looking at our nations and peoples and trying to see the quality of relationships that they're forging through the lived experience of economics, healthcare, race relations, education, and so on. But esoteric work asks of us that we train ourselves to see in all these fields, to see an electrical force of evolution at work, challenging the separative and materialistic spirit of the age, challenging sort of individuals, particularly individuals who are serving in these big fields of work, challenging them to think authentically on their own. Revelations of wholeness are already impacting consciousness in strong and significant ways. Already they are challenging our addiction to ancient appetites and habits of separation. And as the occult teachings remind us, this means that they are in some way renting the veils of illusion, glamour, and Maya. This is the world of energies and forces that the discipleship path brings us into contact with. And it's through the steady, persistent practice of study, meditation, and the willful crafting of a life of service that we each earn the right to cooperate with others in preparing our lives and our nations for the rediscovery of the sacred fire of inclusive universal love which the Christ return will bring. And I just want to add a little note that where to me I see and am most touched by the preciousness of the discipleship work for those who are working in the tradition of the Alice Bailey tradition within the Theosophical movement. The real substance of that work is to be found in small groups who over decades persist in this work together to study, to meditate together as a way of service, and to, in a sense, share the electrical dynamics of our lives as we each face the encounters that are involved in transforming, transmuting, and redeeming the substance of our lives. It's this small group work that is totally background. To the outer world is silent and hidden. But to me, that's where the real work happens. And so it's a joy to figuratively stand with you today in this circle of concentrated group thought, and together with you to link with other circles of meditation and thought, scattered through a multitude of groups, many of whom we know nothing about throughout the Americas. And then to think of these circles of group work reaching out into all the circles of deep esoteric thought that form the true heart center of the new group of world servers. From every esoteric tradition, every wisdom tradition, that today is being electrified as we face this combination of a human crisis and humanity that is a spiritual crisis. All the work that's done during the full moon meditations is essentially invocative, but none more so than at this time of Wesak. During the sacred time of our meditative alignment, we're part of a field of mind and heart, a field that includes all around the world who meditate in harmony with the rhythm of the full moon for re-enchantment and renewal. It's a field that includes all those souls who've been involved in this monthly ritual during their time in incarnation, who've passed out of incarnation and who now participate from the inner side. And it's a field that includes as well the great spiritual potencies of the ashram. Through this alignment, we become conscious of the cry that streams from the silent places of the human heart and the silent spaces of the nations, regions, and peoples of the world. And it's important that we attune our ears to this cry for light, for truth, and for love. It's a demand that we be fitted as a species, so aware of our inadequacies, that we be fitted for contact with the real, fitted with the light of life itself. And when we work together in meditation, particularly at these peak times like Wesak, we bring all this into focus, and we send it forth towards the great ones in the ashram through our use of the great invocation, so that through our own experience we can gradually begin through time to sense that this cry of humanity which we take and direct through our use of the great invocation will be heard by the Christ, heard by the Buddha, and by all those names, by Guru Rinpoche, the great spirit of Tibet, and all the masters of all of the different ashrams, by whatever names they may be known. This use of the mind to focus the cry of humanity is what leads to a great outpouring of light and love that flows into and through the wide field of the entire human mind and heart. And so it is that we do our work. So what I suggest is if we together take a moment of silence, just a brief moment of silence. And for those of you who know it, use the 12 o'clock mantra that's given by the Tibetan. I'll be doing it in English, but you'll be hearing it in Spanish, or perhaps in Portuguese. And it's important to use it in whatever language is your own language.
Excuse me, Stephen. I'll say it in Spanish. Conocemos, oh Señor de vida y amor, la necesidad. Conmueve nuevamente nuestros corazones con amor para que podamos amar y dar. Que así sea y cumplamos con nuestra parte. Okay, please go on. Thank you.
Thank you, Neela. Bless you. For the esoteric community, the Wesak Festival isn't a celebration of something that's happened in the past. Even though the festival occurs within an environment of thought, and we sometimes forget this, it's important to remember that every Wesak, well, not always, but most Wesaks, the festival occurs within an environment of thought that is created by millions of Buddhists from around the world who focus their attention on the birth, enlightenment, and death of the historical Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama. In most, but not all, Buddhist countries, these celebrations will take place this year on or around the full moon day of May the 16th. And May the 16th, the full moon day of May, is always honored by the United Nations as official International Vesak Day. But as esotericists, we're called upon to observe the light generated in the field of mind by the Buddhist community during this period of the Wesak full moon, and to see that this field of light, from all of the ceremonies, the meditations, the conferences, the deep silent reading and study of individual Buddhists, that this field of light in and of itself is significant and magical, that it's generated by the thoughts of millions of people, penetrating at times, at its peak times, into the overshadowing mind of the Buddha nature. And then observing this field of light in the Buddhist community, our task, it seems to me, in the esoteric community, is to recognize another level of light that moves to a peak of illumination every year during the time of the Taurus full moon. And our task in illumination, our particular responsibility every year during the time of the Taurus full moon, is to imaginatively witness and be present to this higher light and to the great annual coming together of the worlds of humanity and hierarchy. Wesak is said to be the supreme moment of approach. The heavenly worlds approach the human, and there are those within the human who collectively as a group approach the heavenly. This is a living event, a great ritual of light and overshadowing enlightenment. The light of the soul, the light of the ashram, the light of life itself become for a time accessible to the world esoteric group in a way that only happens every year at Wesak. It's one thing to ponder the meaning of the stories of the lives of those two great brothers, the Buddha and the Christ, and that's important. But it's something quite different to approach the Buddha and the Christ as if they are a real living presence, reaching into our disturbed world of 2022. Approaching them as if they are points of radiation, potencies of living electric light within us and within the collective world of mind and heart with all its multi-layered levels. Every year during the full moon, when the sun is in the sign of Taurus, there is a legend of these two great living beings, the Christ, the Prince of Peace, and the Lord Buddha, the Enlightened One, the Illumined One, of these two great living beings meeting in a hidden valley in the Himalayas, eye to eye, heart to heart. At the exact hour of the full moon, the Buddha is said to symbolically enter the physical world of this remote valley from the sacred realm of Shambhala, and he brings with him a blessing of light. Some are said to have experienced this event in their dream life, and they speak of an atmosphere of intense expectancy in the valley, as if the world's aspiration is focused, concentrated, and raised up into this annual ritual. Just for a few minutes before the time of the full moon, the legend describes the Buddha descending in the sky, bathed in light and color. With his hands extended in blessing, he hovers over the heads of the Christ and of the two great lords accompanying the Christ. And an invocation is intoned by the Christ. Alice Bailey writes that this marks the supreme moment of intensive spiritual effort throughout the entire year and the spiritual vitalization of humanity, and the spiritual effects last throughout the succeeding months. The blessing is poured forth, received in trust for distribution by the Christ as representative of humanity. Speaking about the day of the Wesak full moon, Alice Bailey, or the Tibetan writing through Alice Bailey, writes, "We must regard the festival itself as a day of silence. I refer to an inner peace and silent solemnity that can be preserved unbroken, though the individual may be serving through speech and spoken interest. A day of service carried forward entirely on esoteric levels and of complete self-forgetfulness in the remembrance of humanity and its need. During that period, we are told two thoughts only will hold our constant attention: the need of humanity and the necessity of providing a group channel whereby the spiritual forces can be poured through the body of humanity under the expert guidance of the chosen members of the hierarchy." It's an incredible thought, and the thought is that it's their work, the Christ and the Buddha and the assembled hierarchy. Our job is to stand, to be present, to be as a channel, and the way we do that is by being out of the way, allowing their work to continue. The Taurus keynote for meditation is "I see," and when the eye is opened, all is light. Many of us will have had the experience of the light that lies within us, light within the mind and a light within the heart. It's a light that's to be found in meditation and shines for us during moments of significant recognition. This means true, authentic recognition of a principle or law or a state of being. And in a way, this is how we experience as human beings. This is how we experience revelation. When the light opens a doorway into a higher light, there is a recognition, a private, secret, intimate recognition of the real. Alice Bailey in the Tibetan write, the revelation of light concerns the lighted areas of being which otherwise remain unknown and therefore hidden. It's quite something to ponder these lighted areas of being that lie within us, but which we fail to recognize, because of course they're hidden to us. The spiritual journey in this sense is about the progressive unveiling and revealing of these hidden levels of light. We create light, writes the Tibetan in Discipleship in the New Age, Volume 2. We employ light. We discover greater lights which serve to reveal to us the unknown God. It is the guiding light within us which eventually reveals those brighter lights which usher in the process of revelation, which is the end of the quote. From the very center of life on earth, presided over by the great mythical figures of the eternal youth and the Lord of the world, we are told, and this is a quote, that the light of life, the light supernal, streams forth. For light is a symptom and an expression of life, and essentially, occultly, and in a most mysterious way, the terms light and life are interchangeable. And the quote goes on, only when the will of the personality and the will of the soul come together, evoked by love, does the light of the soul dominate the material light of the personality. This is a statement of importance. The Tibetan writes, only when the will of the monad and the will of the hierarchy of souls meet and blend in the upper brackets, and DK adds with a gentle smile, I suspect, if I may use such a modern business phrase. And he goes on to say that only when the will of the monad and the will of the hierarchy of souls meet and blend in the upper brackets can the radiant light of life dominate the blended lights of humanity and of the hierarchy. Faintly, this group fusion and junction can be seen taking place. And so, with this theme of light and revelation in mind, let us imaginatively sit with the Buddhists of the world in a great circle of human beings, perhaps around a campfire. And let us imagine that we hear together and in our own languages these words that were said to be spoken by the Buddha. And as we hear them, imagining that we are hearing them for the first time, hearing them so that they reach right into the core of our being, and hearing the echo of these words penetrating into the core of all human beings who seek to be of service during this incredible time of transition and transformation. So I'll finish with these words from the Buddha that taken from Helen Rurik's book Foundations of Buddhism and come from a Pali text, the Majjhima Nikaya. However men may speak concerning you, whether appropriately or inappropriately, whether courteously or rudely, whether wisely or foolishly, whether kindly or maliciously. Thus, my disciples, must you train yourselves. Our minds should remain unsullied. Neither should evil words escape our lips. Kind and compassionate will we ever remain, loving of heart, not harboring secret hate. And we will bathe them with the unfailing stream of loving thought. And proceeding further, we will embrace and flood the whole wide world with constant thoughts of loving kindness, wide, ample, expanding, immeasurable as the world, free from enmity, free from ill will. Thus, my disciples, must you train yourselves. Thank you, friends. It's been a great joy to be working with you.